Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We love to go deep on pretty much everything, and today we're diving into something that's been on my mind a lot lately.
Hmm. Let me guess. Is it the impending robot apocalypse?
No, no, although that's definitely on the list for a future deep dive. But no, today it's the internet.
Ah, yes, the internet,
Yeah,
a bottomless well of both wonders and worries.
exactly. And I keep thinking about how it started with all these like utopian ideals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, connecting people,
Oh.
sharing knowledge.
Right, democratizing information, a global village, all that jazz.
Right. And now it feels like it's kind of become, well, something else.
Yeah, somewhere along the line, things veered off course.
For sure. And now we're staring down this whole new frontier, the age of AI.
Hmm. A brave new world full of possibilities and potential pitfalls.
Exactly. So the big question is, can we learn from like the internet's journey to create a better future with AI?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah. And we've got a ton of sources here to help us unpack all of this.
Lay it on me. Articles, studies. I even heard a rumor about a particularly insightful tweet.
Oh, we've got way more than just tweets. We've got articles, YouTube transcripts, and even a book from, get this, 1982.
1982. Wow. Back when the internet was just a twinkle in someone's eye.
Right. So let's rewind to the beginning. Most people think the internet was just about surviving a nuclear attack.
Yeah, that's the common narrative, isn't it? Duck and cover and log onto the ARPANET.
But it's way more fascinating than that.
Oh, absolutely. The internet's origin story is like straight out of a Cold War spy thriller.
So tell me, what's the real story?
Well, during the Cold War, the U.S. military was really worried about, well, communication.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense. If there's a nuclear attack, you kind of want to be able to talk to people.
Exactly. But it wasn't just about surviving a strike. It was about connecting different types of computers across vast distances.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. So it wasn't just about like having a backup communication system.
Nope. It was about something much bigger, like the ability to share information seamlessly no matter what kind of computer you're using.
Okay, so like today we all just assume that our devices can, talk to each other.
Right. But back then, it was a wild idea. Computers were like these isolated islands of information.
Huh, I never thought about that. So how did they solve this problem?
Enter packet switching.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that term, but honestly, I have no idea what it means.
Well, imagine taking a message and chopping it up into tiny little digital pieces.
Okay, I'm picturing a digital shredder.
Exactly. And then each piece or packet gets sent on its own little adventure across a network, and they all magically meet up at the destination and reassemble.
Whoa, that's actually super clever.
It was revolutionary, and that's what made the ARPANET, the precursor to the internet, so resilient.
So basically, even if some parts of the network went down, the message could still get through.
Precisely. It was decentralized, adaptable, and basically nuke-proof.
So this packet switching thing was like a technical masterpiece,
Yeah.
right?
Totally. But it was also way more than that. It was like a philosophical shift.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this philosophical shift.
Well, you see, early internet pioneers weren't just thinking about bits and bytes.
So it wasn't just about building a better communication system.
No, it was about building a system that empowered individuals, fostered collaboration, and like unleashed human potential.
I love that. Like a digital utopia.
Right, and one of the key figures in this early internet utopia was a guy named Doug Engelbart.
Okay, Doug Engelbart. Tell me more about this guy.
Well, Engelbart had this vision of augmenting human intellect, like using computers to help us solve humanity's biggest challenges.
Okay, so he was kind of like a tech visionary, a big thinker.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He wasn't just thinking about building faster computers, he was thinking about how computers could help us end poverty, eliminate war, and basically create a better world.
Wow, that's ambitious.
Yeah, Engelbart wasn't messing around. And get this, in the late 1960s, he actually built a system called NLS.
NLS, what's that stand for?
I honestly don't know, but it doesn't matter because it had features like video conferencing and collaborative document editing, like stuff we take for granted today.
Wait, in the 1960s? That's insane. We're talking like pre-moon landing here.
I know, right? Engelbart was way ahead of his time. He was like the internet's founding father.
It's amazing how these early pioneers had such a clear vision of what the internet could be.
I know, it's inspiring, isn't it? But sadly, Engelbart's vision was largely overshadowed by, well, the commercialization of the internet.
Yeah. I guess every utopia eventually has to face reality.
It's like the internet went from this idealistic hippie commune to, well, a cutthroat Wall Street trading floor.
That's a pretty vivid image.
Right. Somewhere along the way, the suits showed up.
So, what happened? When did things start to go, well, not so utopian?
Well, as the internet grew in popularity, it attracted a new wave of players.
Okay, so like entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, that kind of crowd.
Exactly. People who saw the internet not just as a tool for human potential, but also as a massive opportunity for profit.
Yeah, and I guess you can't really blame them. I mean, the internet was and still is a huge deal.
Oh, for sure. But the focus shifted from empowering individuals to, well, generating revenue.
Okay, so this is where companies like Amazon and Google enter the picture.
Bingo! These companies emerged offering free services.
Free? I mean, who doesn't love free stuff?
Right. But there's no such thing as a free lunch, is there?
So what was the catch?
Data. Our data. These companies realized that by collecting vast amounts of information about our online behavior,
You mean like what we search for, what we buy, who we talk to?
exactly, they could basically turn us into products.
That's kind of unsettling when you think about it. Like, we're all just data points being bought and sold.
It's the business model of the modern internet. Our attention, our preferences, our desires, it's all up for grabs.
And we're basically giving it away for free.
Well, in exchange for convenience, entertainment, and connection. It's a trade-off, isn't it?
So is that where the internet went wrong? Like, is data collection the original sin of the digital age?
It's complicated. I mean, data can be used for good, right? It can help us personalize experiences, connect with like-minded people, and even solve global challenges.
Yeah, that's true. It's not all bad. But it definitely feels like things have gotten, well, out of hand.
Oh, for sure. And that's what we need to be mindful of as we enter the age of AI, because AI thrives on data.
Right, so if we don't figure out how to manage data responsibly, AI could just amplify all the problems we've been talking about.
Exactly. It could lead to even more invasive surveillance, more sophisticated manipulation, and a further erosion of our privacy and autonomy.
So where do we go from here? Like, how do we avoid repeating the same mistakes with AI?
Well, that's the question we're going to try to answer. But first, I think we need a little break.
Yeah, good idea. Let's take a moment to process all of this, and we'll be right back.
So where were we? Oh, yeah, teetering on the brink of the AI revolution, wondering if we're about to make all the same mistakes again.
Pretty much. We've established that data is, well, kind of the key ingredient in this whole AI thing. And we've seen how things can go wrong when data gets, out of control.
Right, the internet's cautionary tale, but the good news is we can learn from the past. We can actually build AI systems that are, good for humanity.
Okay, so let's talk solutions.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the key things we need to focus on to make sure AI doesn't, turn into a dystopian nightmare?
Well, one big one is decentralization. Remember how the early internet was all about distributed networks? No single point of control?
Yeah, packet switching the whole 9 yards.
Exactly. But somewhere along the way, things got centralized. A handful of giant companies ended up controlling vast swaths of the digital world.
Right, the Googles and the Facebooks of the world.
Yeah, and that's a recipe for trouble with AI, because if a few companies control the data, the algorithms, the infrastructure, they basically control AI.
So how do we avoid that? I mean, these companies are already so powerful, it seems almost impossible to, break their grip.
It's a challenge, for sure. But there are things we can do. One idea is to foster the development of open-source AI platforms.
Open source, meaning anyone can access and modify the code.
Exactly. So instead of having a few companies hoarding all the AI secrets, we can have a more collaborative, democratic approach to AI development.
I like that. More minds working together, less chance of one entity going rogue. What else can we do?
Well, another big one is privacy. We need to build AI systems that respect our privacy from the ground up.
Yeah, that seems like a no-brainer. But I feel like we've been giving away our privacy for so long, it's almost become the norm.
Right. It's like the frog in the boiling water. We're slowly getting used to this idea of constant surveillance, of having our every move tracked and analyzed. But with AI, the stakes are even higher. AI systems can process and analyze vast amounts of data, way more than any human could ever handle.
So it's like supercharged surveillance.
Exactly. And that's why we need strong privacy laws, laws that give individuals control over their data and limit what companies can do with it.
Okay, that makes sense. But I've heard a lot of debate about regulation lately. Some people say we need more of it to rein in these tech giants. Others say too much regulation will stifle innovation. Where do you stand on this?
It's a tough one. Too little regulation, as we've seen with the internet, can lead to a Wild West scenario where the powerful exploit the vulnerable. But too much regulation can create a stifling environment where creativity and innovation are suffocated. It's about finding the right balance.
Yeah, that sweet spot where we protect people without holding back
It's
progress.
exactly smart regulation that fosters responsible innovation, not mindless growth.
So decentralization, privacy, smart regulation. What else?
Well, remember Doug Engelbart, the guy who envisioned augmenting human intellect? I think it's time to bring back that vision.
Right. AI shouldn't be about replacing humans. It should be about empowering us.
Exactly. It should be our sidekick, our collaborator, helping us to solve problems, unlock our creativity, and make our lives better.
So it's not just about the tech itself. It's about how we use it. It's about the values we embed in AI systems.
Absolutely. And that's where things get really interesting. Because ultimately, the future of AI isn't going to be determined by algorithms or lines of code.
It's going to be determined by us, by our choices, our
Yeah.
values, our vision for the future.
Exactly. Technology is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill. It all depends on the humans wielding it.
So if we want AI to be a force for good, we need to be really intentional about the values we're putting into it.
Right. We need to ask ourselves, what kind of future do we want to create? What kind of world do we want to live in?
And those are big questions.
They are, but they're the questions we need to be grappling with right now as we stand on the cusp of this new era of AI.
Because the choices we make today will have ripple effects for generations to come.
Exactly. The future is not predetermined. It's up to us to shape it.
I love that. It's empowering and a little bit terrifying all at the same time. But I think we need to take a break and let our listeners absorb all of this before we move on.
So we've talked about the big picture stuff like decentralization, privacy, regulation, but I think it's also important to talk about what we can do as, individuals.
Right, because it's easy to feel kind of powerless in all of this, like we're just along for the ride.
I get that. But
Mm.
honestly, even small actions can make a difference. It starts with awareness. Like, the more we understand how these technologies work, the better equipped we are to, make informed choices about how we use them.
So it's not just about knowing how to use the latest gadget, it's about understanding the systems behind it.
Exactly. Like, how are algorithms shaping the information we see? How is our data being collected and used? Who's profiting from our attention?
Okay, so it's like digital literacy is kind of crucial for navigating this whole AI landscape.
Totally. It's about being able to, discern fact from fiction, to recognize bias, to understand how our online experiences are being manipulated.
Yeah, it's like having a BS detector for the internet.
Exactly. But awareness is just the first step. We also need to set boundaries.
Boundaries, like with our devices.
Yeah, be intentional about how and when you engage with technology. Limit your screen time. Create tech-free zones in your home. Cultivate activities that, nourish your mind and spirit outside the digital realm.
So it's like a digital detox, giving ourselves permission to like unplug and reconnect with the real world.
Exactly. It's about finding a balance and remembering that, our worth as human beings isn't determined by likes, follows, or algorithmic scores.
It's easy to forget that sometimes.
For sure, especially when we're bombarded with all these messages telling us we need to be more connected, more productive, more optimized.
Right, it's like the pressure to be on all the time. But if we want to have a healthy relationship with technology, we need to be able to step away from it sometimes.
Absolutely. And we also need to remember that we have power as consumers.
Okay, so like voting with our wallets?
Yeah, support companies that align with your values, companies that prioritize privacy and ethical data practices.
So it's not just about what we buy, it's about where we buy it from, what platforms we use, what services we subscribe to.
Right. And it's about demanding better from these companies. We need to hold them accountable for their actions. Support legislation that protects our privacy, promotes transparency, and fosters a more equitable digital landscape.
Yeah, because ultimately it's going to take collective action to like steer these powerful technologies in a direction that benefits humanity.
Exactly. It's not just about individual choices. It's about systemic change.
Wow, this has been an incredible conversation. We've covered so much ground today. From the Cold War origins of the internet to the utopian dreams of the early pioneers.
And from the rise of the tech giants to the challenges and opportunities of the AI age, it's been quite a journey.
It really has. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is that the future of AI is not predetermined. It's up to us to shape it.
That's a great way to put it. The future is not something that happens to us. It's something we create.
And that's both exciting and a little bit daunting, right? Because we have a lot of work to do. But I'm also feeling hopeful. Like if we can learn from the past and make conscious choices about the technologies we create and use, we can actually build a future where AI empowers us, connects us, and helps us solve some of the world's biggest problems.
I agree. It's not going to be easy, but it's definitely worth fighting for.
Absolutely. So to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of the internet and AI. We hope this episode has given you some food for thought and maybe even inspired you to get involved in shaping the digital future. And remember, keep diving deeper.